2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brannon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us.
What do you look for in disclosure to see if someone is being honest?
Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers.
We're therapists.
And we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin.
Brannon, what's going on, man?
Just another day. Here we are. It's a great day. Hey, it's a great day.
It is a great day.
Yep. So
I'm excited. It's a great day. We're going to be doing our giveaway for reviews for the podcast today.
Well, Rising Sun, I believe it's sold out, isn't it?
Yeah, we just actually, at the time of recording this, we just sold out 2 days ago. So the only pass left right now is this pass we're giving away.
Yeah, the only way to really get in is this. So this is a big deal. Not only is it a free ticket to come to a sold out event, it's your only way to come. It's the only way this year.
So, if you're interested in it, you can still go to the website at risingsun.org and you can get on the waiting list, because there's sometimes are people who
will drop off,
logistically can't come or travel or whatever. But yeah, so you can still get on the waiting list. But yep, this is the last ticket right here.
Okay, so this is from our reviews. I just want to say thank you for the reviews. They are awesome, and it's fun to read them, but it also really helps our podcast. It helps us get more listeners, and I don't know how the algorithms work, Tyler, but reviews are awesome. So to take a little bit of time to go out of your way to actually drop a review on us,
we appreciate that.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, it does make your head a little bit big, especially the ones that came through since the episode you did on your own, Brannon, of like where did Brannon's philosophies come from, got a lot of comments. And so I know your head's getting big, but truly, honestly, we appreciate your feedback, but also we appreciate your support for us. And so
I love how you subtly throw in there, like, hey, don't be a prideful jerk, Brannon. Like, you just like subtly slip that in the side.
Just a little like side passive aggressive smack to the face. Yeah. Well, I think, several of these reviews actually reference your episode. So one of these guys is going to get to show up here and actually meet you in person.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome to meet whoever. To be, honestly, Tyler, and I mean this, I wish we could have every single one of these guys come for free.
I do too.
That left a review. So
I do too.
Yeah.
So the way we've got this going is,
people watching on YouTube, you can see we got just a bowl. We're doing it the old fashioned way. We've written down all the
It's a
titles.
fancy bowl. It's a nice looking bowl.
Yeah, kind of nice. But there's a bunch of papers in here. I'm going to just lift it above my head. I'm going to pull one out. It's got the title of the review, and it's got the person who submitted the review. Now, I know some of these names of the people who submitted the review aren't your actual names. So you're going to have to listen. We'll read the review. And if it was your review, you're going to need to reach out to us at realtalkrecovery.com or at lovestrong.com or at therapybros.com to claim your prize. Okay. And you'll have to come, just send us an email or contact us via phone, and we'll make sure that we get you signed up, get you on the list, get you all the logistics, and we'll be excited to have you come to Bear Lake, Utah with us.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Hey,
so here we
go.
You ready?
Get excited.
All right.
The winner of the Rising Sun Retreat Review Raffle is
Sparky G Force. Is the name of the review.
I got it. Should I read it?
Yeah. And then the title is The Best. Go ahead and read it, Brannon.
It says, by far my favorite therapy podcast out there. I am always amazed at the courage each guest brings to the show, as well as the wisdom, heart, and thoughtful insight that Tyler and Brannon convey. I look forward to each new episode. Mark. So he put his name Mark. So Mark, man, I hope you can figure out the travel, the time off work. You're in, man. You won. Congratulations.
Yeah, excited to have you, and thank you for the kind review there. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you or whoever you decide to send the last week of September. So we're looking forward to it.
Awesome. Okay, Tyler, should we switch gears?
Yes.
All right. So we got a question submitted over on our website, and it says, I'd like to pay Brannon to read my husband's disclosure and see what you think. I believe there's more. You two have great episodes. I keep learning. So I just thought we could take this.
Before we do this, Brannon, I'm kind of curious to why they don't want me to read the disclosure. They just want Brannon to, but I think it's because you have a pretty good BS meter.
There's something about Tyler and, feeling insecure with me and my pride today. I don't know what it is.
I'm just gonna keep chipping away at it.
Yeah. Hey, if you weren't my brother, I would pay you to do my therapy work, but
Oh, that's nice, Brannon.
Yeah. Anyways,
I feel so much better.
Yes. Anyways, I actually love this comment because and I love it not so I can speak to it, but so that you can too, because we are experts on doing this work. And one of the very kind of very intricate, skillful things that we do is the process of disclosure. And we've done it for years. I've read books on it. I've seen workbooks done for it. There's different processes that different therapists go over when they do a disclosure. And we probably won't get into all the little things that we do when we go through a disclosure process. But what I'm hoping, Tyler, is that we can talk about maybe some of the intangibles we do when we listen to a disclosure, when we go through the disclosure process. What are we actually doing? What are we actually looking for? What are we paying attention to? And what's the hope as we go through that process to get, what are we trying to get out of it? Right.
Yeah. What are we actually looking for in a disclosure? And maybe our answers are going to be a little different than what this person's really wanting, but maybe there will be some of that too.
Yeah. So Tyler, let me ask you this. And if a couple comes in and let's say they've gone through the whole process where the therapist has worked with both sides and kind of prepared them for the disclosure, but let's say he comes in and does the disclosure and you're just kind of feeling like that's a bunch of BS. That was poorly done. There was denial everywhere in it. Does that mean the disclosure went bad?
Not necessarily. Hopefully they've been prepped in a way where they understand that that they're wasting their time and their money unless they're coming in with the whole heart to actually do the process. Right. But yeah, when that happens, what it doesn't mean it went like, it depends on how you describe poorly. What it does is it gives more information. It allows for the couple to actually now have that information of how it was presented and what was in the room, so that both, namely a lot of times the betrayed partner, then gets to be able to have information that they can use to go continue making their decision making process.
Yeah, I think that's important what you just said, Tyler, to understand, because it changes kind of the way in which you're coming to it. So to me, the disclosure is done for the betrayed partner. So this is not about the therapy of the person, of the betrayer. Now, sometimes it can be very therapeutic for the betrayer to go through this. It can be really good for them. But the intent, first and foremost, is to lay things on the table for the betrayed partner to know what's actually going on, so that then they can start their healing process. And so if you understand that, and let's say the betrayer comes in and continues to lie and manipulate, like you said, that's more information for the betrayed partner to then make their decisions going forward. So if there's a yucky, there's lying, there's deceit still going on, feeling in the room after the disclosure, we need to stop and we need to say, okay, like that's still there.
What's this?
What is that? Now, what do you do with that going forward? There's been very few. Now, I've had a couple, but there's been very few disclosures that I've done where we're singing Kumbaya at the end and everybody's like feeling better and happy, and
usually
whatever.
Pretty heavy, usually pretty hard, even if it's like well done.
Even if it's well done, it's pretty heavy and pretty hard. So we walk them through a process. And one of the things that we work on is flushing out denial from disclosure. And it can feel really kind of benign and factual, and that's what we want it to be. So let me give you an example, Tyler. Let's say in the disclosure, there's, I texted that woman from work something inappropriate. But I did that after we had separated, and I felt like I was justified in it. Is that a good disclosure?
For the disclosure process, no, because there's that little bit of justification, which then robs it of the point of I'm taking accountability for my actions and how it's affected our relationship.
Yeah, you can see the defense mechanism coming in to say, I'm an okay guy. See how I'm okay? Versus, I texted a woman from work and this is what I said, period.
And it was inappropriate.
Yeah. And that's it. That's, and she might ask, well, when did you do it, or blah, blah, blah. But like, you don't need to put in there the rationalization along with the information. Just put the information.
Yeah.
And so we'll see like little minimizations, justifications,
rationalizations.
I only did this because, we'll see turning the tables, blame.
It was your fault because you were being mean to me, that kind of stuff. That's
someone else,
a good disclosure.
Someone else came on to me and there's nothing I could have done. And that's why I did
was
it.
Helpless.
I'm helpless. So any bit of that type of denial, we as therapists, we're like hawks kind of watching that beforehand. So like when we're working with the person doing the disclosure, they will be in so much denial at times they don't even realize they are, right, Tyler?
Right.
And I've gone through disclosures before where it's like every word it feels like, hey, you're not being honest. Like, you're justifying, you're manipulating, you're defending. Let's just flush that out and let's get down to bare bones what happened.
Yeah. I'm wondering, maybe this is part of, I'm going to go back to the question that you just read, because I think underneath the question, there's sort of an energy that I'd like to explore with you for a second and see how you feel about it. That's very, very common. So often the betrayed partner wants to have that full disclosure because they want to have a clear picture of what they actually have to unpack and wrestle with and decide what to do with, right? But a lot of times what they're looking for is, and I think this underneath the question was there is, I want Brannon to read that disclosure because he's not being honest, and I want the therapist to tell me he's not being honest, right? And I just kind of wondering what your take is on how you view yourself in terms of being the honesty police or the polygraph yourself.
Well, it's twofold, Tyler. I actually love this question. So sometimes the betrayed, their truth meter can be off. Their intuition has been manipulated so much that they don't know what's up and what's down.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have a second voice to say, this feels genuine, this feels honest. Like, for example, I did a disclosure with a couple, and it was, I don't know if I knew this at the time. This was years ago. It was something like their 7th disclosure. And when we did it, it felt very off. And when I dug in further, what I realized is the energy, his like feeling of unsafety, it wasn't about not trying to be honest. He was more scrupulosity than anything. And so he was so anxious that he wasn't being honest about everything that it made his wife feel completely unsafe. And as we dug into that, it was like, okay, he's trying hard to disclose, to get all the stuff out, but at the same time, he's not strong. Like, he doesn't know who he is. And it was helpful for me as a therapist to kind of be there to kind of flush that out and witness what was actually going on, because it was their 6th or 7th disclosure. And she's like, oh yeah, that's what I'm feeling. Every time we do this, I feel like there's more.
Yeah.
But what I'm feeling is his shame, his anxiety, and his fear. Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, so because of that, we flushed that out. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, Tyler. I
think you are. Let me just maybe put in this side of it from like my perspective and see how it fits with yours.
Okay.
I learned this in dialectical behavioral therapy, working for the drug courts, who, when we work for the drug courts, we're directly tied to probation. And so probation is always coming to us and saying,
yeah, I've been there.
Hey, are they lying? Are they lying? Are they being honest? Are they being truthful? Because we need to throw them back in jail. Or we need to do this. We need to do that. Right.
You're talking to POs all the time.
Yeah. And it's actually, I thought the system was becoming a good system, but I didn't like being in the business of being the person who my word would send somebody back to jail if I didn't think they were honest.
Yeah.
Right. And they would want me to like discern this honesty piece. Now, what I think sometimes happens, and this is what DBT taught me, is I'm not going to be the one to go and interrogate person with a hot lamp over their face to get them to tell the truth. My job is to help influence the person to decide it's in their best interest to tell their truth, and then to help the couple to discern how to communicate with each other in the truth. So what I think I hear you saying is you view your role as someone who's in the room when this is all happening, and before it happens, to help prepare the person to actually show up in honesty. And then when they don't show up in honesty, you're not necessarily going through the whole document and being like, liar, 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 liar. What you're doing is you're saying something in the room right now, the energy that in the way it's being presented, or the way that this was written up, or, hey, these little bits of denial seem to still be here. There's not any accountability here. You're approaching it from a much broader, what I think is you're approaching it from a much broader place than just, let's see if he's lying.
Yes, I agree with that. Like, it's not, oh, you said that there, that's a lie right there. It's overall, this does not feel,
something feels off here.
Like authentic. Something is off. Tyler, I did a disclosure, and we're taught in school, it's called practical use of self, where it's not my job to team up with the betrayed partner and then watchdog the betrayer and just like, let's get it all out. That's not the job. But it is, I believe, our job to notice whether or not this process of rebuilding trust in the relationship is going in the right direction or not.
Yes.
And like I did this disclosure and it was awful. And like there was definitely something else going on. Like, and so I outed that. Like that's how I was feeling. So I said, I definitely don't feel like you're being honest. Something is not being said.
Missing.
That's how I'm feeling. And unless you can say that thing, this disclosure is going to do more damage to your relationship. And he stopped. He looked at his wife for a while, looked at me, and then said, I've been having sex with the neighbor. And so like in that moment, bomb dropped, boom,
Yeah.
right? I used myself, practical use of self. That bomb dropped. She actually started yelling swear words at him like instantly.
Mm-hmm.
And that disclosure was awesome. It actually helped. It helped that couple, and they ended up divorced. It helped her a ton.
Yeah.
Because it helped her know what was actually going on, right?
Yeah.
So is that my job, Tyler? Should I have done that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, but again, that's you in the room as the therapist helping to kind of point out these principles. And if you've done your job as a therapist working with that guy, hopefully you've started to kind of help tease that out, not just for her sake, but for his sake too. Where
I'm fighting for him as much as I am her in that moment.
Yeah, I actually think the disclosure
knowing
process,
that he's just playing the same game that he's played.
Yeah, but see, you're looking for patterns and you're looking for principles there that you're looking to help call out. There's the minimization, or hey, there is something that doesn't quite fit here. I was talking to one of my therapists just this week, and they came to me and they were like, man, I just bombed this session. And they started telling me about this session, and they told me about the conversation between the couple. And I said, I don't know that you bombed it. I said, are you clear? Do you feel like there's more to the story than that they didn't tell you? And they said, oh, absolutely. I know there's more to the story. I don't know what that is. I said, that's part of your confusion is that it's not that you bombed it. It's you did not get a complete picture of what's going on. And so,
right.
And so that's your gut telling you something's not quite right there.
Right.
I'll give you another example. This just happened a couple of weeks ago with a disclosure. I've got a guy who's heart of gold, just really good, but he's locked up emotionally. He has a really hard time sharing his emotions. And so he's done this disclosure thing. He's done it twice now, and he gives the history, but his history is so factual that it's just like, this is where it happened. This is where it happened. This is where it happened. His wife gave him a list of questions and he answered them like one word answers, couple word answers. Yeah. Yes, no, this, that, and the other. And I'm going through this with him and he's doing the work, and I just stopped him. I said, hey, look, like if we go into that meeting with your wife and you do what you just did with me, it's not going the right direction. Like,
right.
She needs to see your heart.
Right.
And he started getting choked up with me in the office. He's like, I don't know how to do that. I was like, that's your job. Like we can go read in this particular situation, he had all the details down. I said, go read the details, but you need to create this other thing over here. I want you to share your heart and your feelings with your wife about how you've affected her life and how much you care about her. And I want you to do that. And so he gets through the thing and she's asking him a few questions. And I said, do you have anything else to share? And he's like, yeah, I've got this thing. And then he didn't even read it. He turned to his wife and he broke down and was like, I am so sorry for the things that I've caused you. I feel horrible. I affected your life this way, this way, this way. And afterwards she turned to me and she's like, our session's done. I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, let's move on. And all he needed, but the energy in the room was they were attuning to one another. They're trying to like see one another. And instead of having shame and self-protection there that you're trying to tease out through those forms of denial, you're trying to help facilitate a place where that communication can happen. And if it goes that way, more often than not always, but more often than not, it actually becomes a trust builder in the relationship if the relationship stays together, even if it doesn't stay together.
Right.
Right.
Well, Tyler, it's interesting what's coming up for me as you're talking is we've talked a little bit about polygraphs, and a lot of therapists that treat sex addiction have all their clients go through a polygraph in the process of disclosure, and I'm kind of anti-polygraph, and the reason I am is because in certain times when it comes to safety and things like that, sure, but in disclosure, what we're looking for is not so much what detail did you say and what detail didn't you say. We're looking at the heart of the betrayer. Are they shifting, going from becoming a person who is knowingly defending and manipulating in order to get what they want, to a person who can have compassion for their partner, to a person who can live vulnerably and honestly. And if they just shift a little bit into that and move toward that, that's awesome. And their partner can usually pick up on that of, wow, I'm used to them always hiding or manipulating or minimizing what they're doing. And now they're just owning this and then having some empathy or compassion for my pain.
Yeah.
Whoa, like that's a big deal. And we always say, like, how do you know someone's in recovery? You can feel it. And in that disclosure, that's one of the first places, hopefully, this is when a disclosure goes really well, is one of the first places where they're not showing up as the old person who's in their shame. And they're showing up as the person who's in their guilt and who's facing the realities and the consequences of the things they've done. Right.
It's a difference in the energy. So, so I think that's where you're going with where my original kind of question was to you is that if we're only chasing down the facts of truth and honesty, we miss a big portion of what the disclosure is all about, which is about the energy with which it's done. And
not to say the facts aren't important.
No, but if that's the only, I think the reason I'm bringing this up is because so often a betrayed spouse thinks they're going to find their own safety through the truth of the facts, when in reality, the safety is often going to come through the energy with which it's shared as much as the truthfulness of the statement. It's a both thing, right?
And that energy with which it's shared cannot be manipulated. So like they might be showing up as the most honest, whatever person possible in a fake way. You can feel that.
You'll feel it.
You can feel that. You know that, right?
Yeah. So it's on us. It's on us as a therapist to help prepare our client by creating an honest statement. And this is something that I do with my clients when I'm doing. I don't know how you handle it, but I just tell them straight up front. They're like, "Hey, we want to do a disclosure," and I'll just say, "Look, unless you're at a point where you're willing to bring it all to me, like bring it all. If you're going to hide anything, I don't want you to do it because you'll waste your time and your money and you'll damage your relationship further. But if you're willing to bring it all, I'll help you get it all out on paper and all out in front of you. And then we'll figure out the right statement to give to your partner. And it can be really beneficial for both of you."
Right.
And I would agree with you when you said earlier about it's to help the betrayed partner. I actually think the disclosure process helps the betrayer too.
I think it can
in different ways if it's done properly. And it actually helps the relationship overall if the relationship stays together, if it's done properly.
Amen to all that. I agree with you. I just think at times, Tyler, and I've seen therapists do this, where they make it about the betrayer who gets to do, and they treat it like a step 4 or whatever, and that's what this is. And that's, if you turn it into that, then we're too focused over there.
Yep.
And then we are on the betrayed partner. Do you know what I mean? Let them do that in a step 4. I agree with you. It can be so therapeutic and so good for the betrayer, like so good. And it's a great opportunity for them.
Something that I think has been helpful in some situations is a lot of times in the process of creating the disclosure document and statement, the betrayer will also end up doing something like their step 4, step
Right.
1 inventory, whatever. But we have them go and we process that. In our case, we do it in groups, or we do it with a sponsor, or we do it in a therapy session, and that might be part of the preparation for it. But the disclosure process and that meeting of the disclosure isn't for that. It's
Right.
It's for actually, here's everything you might need to know. Here's how I may have affected you.
Right.
Here's how I feel about it. And I'm sorry. Right. Like, if it's done that way, maybe it's not. And then the feeling is there, and then you make your decisions. And,
right.
And going to what you were saying, for a partner to hear and receive those things and then have their own gut reaction, being a therapist in the same room, and for you to kind of go, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too, where they go, oh, that felt honest. Yeah, that felt honest.
Well, and
to me
Tyler,
too.
let's be honest. Right. By the time we get to the disclosure, if we've done it right, I've met with each of them maybe 3-4 times,
couple times
alone.
Yeah.
And I know where his heart is usually, like, and just their actual willingness and humility to go through it and want to do it the right way. You know that, hey, like, this is probably going to go well, or this is probably not going to go well. This is
going to be hard.
Like, yeah. And sometimes that goes both ways. It's also with the betrayed partner who can show up in fear cycle and want to punish and want to shame and want to, it's a way to just get revenge. And, like, there's all that going on where we got to work on that. And we got to work on each one of them doing this for the right reasons, doing a ton of self-care work all around the disclosure, showing up, and it can be make or break, showing up in courage and sitting down and saying, okay, like, let's start the healing process as a couple and individually as well. And so, yeah, disclosure is awesome. And, if I did disclosures all day long, Tyler, I'd burn out.
It's hard.
They're hard.
It's hard on the client. It's hard on the therapist.
They're so challenging, yet so good if they're done right. If they're done wrong, they're not good. So,
yeah. And when you mean wrong, you mean getting wrapped up back into the fear cycle. You mean
the therapist, the therapist encouraging denial or the fear cycle, the therapist siding with one side or the other and not fighting for truth, the therapist not preparing each partner with their self-care. Like, for example, I'll do things like I'll let the betrayer know, look, you need to figure out how to give space for her. So when it comes to the kids and things like that, make some arrangements. Either you might need your own space for the day or for a couple days afterwards,
after the appointment or whatever.
But like, let's at least, she might need it, she might not. She might want to go home and be around the kids. But let's make it possible, no matter what, to set up whatever we need. Just logistically,
and create. I tell them to do a create your own adventure kind of a thing, where there's the pathway of, we want to still be close, or I want to go home, or I want to be separate, and make it possible for any of those things, so that
draw on all your assets.
Yeah. So you can kind of cope ahead for whatever might come and whatever you're going to feel and whatever you need to get yourself grounded again. And then I'll, of course, have your support team ready. All of that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. And when that's not in place, and when it happens haphazardly, then it makes
when a therapist slops it together, acts like they know what they're doing, but they don't prepare each partner for it. They don't go through the disclosure. And so then there's just a bunch of denial, and it's just like garbage, or sometimes there's over disclosure. Like, there's a ton of stuff in there that doesn't need to be in there. And it's that kind of anxiety thing where, so like, it's really, really helpful. And Tyler, you work with good therapists. I work with good therapists who are trained to do this disclosure process. If you want to go through one of these, then get a good therapist who specializes in this, because it's really, really, really helpful. So,
do you think we answered the question that we started with today, Brannon?
Well, her question was if she could pay me to read it. So I'll have to think about that.
Yeah. But underneath the question was really like, I don't know if I'm getting a full honesty in
like,
that
basically, what's
statement.
a good disclosure? Yeah. I think we scratched the surface, but hopefully it's got you thinking. And when I say scratch the surface, is Tyler and I in 30 minutes here are trying to talk about a process that we go through for weeks with people. And so what I would say to like sum this up is to find a good therapist who knows how to do this and go through it the right way. And by the way, Tyler, one of my therapist clients went and paid a specialist, a therapist, $7,000 to do their disclosure process. And I think that's over the top. I think that's people taking advantage. Hey, if you guys want to pay me $7,000 to do it, I'll do it for that. But I think that's people gouging people in a really vulnerable situation. You don't need to pay $7,000 to get a good disclosure process. But also what I wouldn't do is just look someone up on Google and be like, oh, they're a therapist. And what do you know? They take my insurance. So I'll just go to them. So there's a balance between those two. Find a specialist. It might cost a little bit more, but also don't get taken advantage of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could take a look at that, Brannon, and say, like, even at your rates, you said 3 to 4 sessions per person plus a couple or two to do the disclosure.
Yeah, we're probably looking, if you were to add it all up, 3, 5, and probably about $1,200 to do it like with a therapist like
if you actually went through a process like that, because you're just really looking at the therapist time at that point. So so hopefully this is helpful. I know this is a question that comes up a lot. I think we just did a disclosure episode not too long ago, or there's going to be another one coming out soon too. But it's an important part of it, and it can be really beneficial, even if it's, when you said I want to just clarify this one last thing before we end. If it's not done well, doesn't mean it was bad.
You still get information.
Yeah. If the process was done well, but the reception of the disclosure itself is poor, that just more information.
You got more information. Now you got work to do to know how to move forward, because you got an answer.
Make choices.
Yeah, that your partner might not be wanting to be honest.
Right.
So. All right, you guys, thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you guys later.